Hey guys, how you doing? I'm here to do the new moon reading for Saturday, May 4th, 2019. I want to start with the astrology because it's important. First, let's look at the degree, the Sabian for the degree that the sun and the moon are on. And it's a weird one. It's a head covered with a rakish silk hat, muffled against the cold. A man braves a storm. Now, the key here is the word rakish, which is kind of an old school term for kind of a bad boy, debonair, ladies' man. Uh, Definitely would have been a gambler, a smoker, a drinker, but with style. And so it's this kind of like old world, word in the middle of this situation. So it takes us kind of into another time. And he's got this rakish silk hat. So he's obviously someone with some sort of financial standing. Muffled against the cold, he braves the storm. So the idea here is about the character of a person, courage, So obviously, if he's wearing this silk hat, perhaps he's either going to or coming from some sort of event. You wouldn't just wear it to go play sports. So it talks almost about being unprepared or in unexpected circumstances, but going through it anyway. Perhaps the weather, he was caught off guard. So he expected a different situation, but, forget it. I'm going to do it anyway. So what this says to me is that the conditions may not be right, and this is correct, and we'll look at it in a second, or they may not be what we hoped, a little bit adverse, but it's asking us to push forward anyway. And actually, in that reading that I did for the first half of May, where we get the perseverance card, this is very much the same sort of energy. So yes, the conditions are not ideal, and let's look at the charts now. Now, as I said, that sun and moon are responding to Venus in Aries. Now, Venus does not like to be in Aries. She likes to eat bonbons and brush her hair and get massages and take care of herself and watch movies that she loves, So she's very much our pleasure principle. And our pleasure principle is in the sign of war. So it's not her natural state. So this sun and this moon, this new moon energy, is responding to a very aggressive Aries, or a very aggressive Venus in Aries, which means that she's kind of like, I will destroy you. So she's aggressive, and on top of that, she's getting challenged, or she's about to in the next couple of days. She's getting challenged by Saturn, Pluto, and the nodes. And so they're asking her, or they're what they're arguing about is, are you going to go forward or are you going to keep going backwards? And Pluto wants to know, what are you willing to give up from the past in order to move forward? And Saturn is saying, okay, great, but did you take all of the steps that you need to, every single I dotted and T crossed, in order to move forward? So have you released the emotional baggage from the past before you get into a new relationship? Have you checked your financial projections before you take things to investors? Did you do your due diligence on that new company before you move in? Or are you just repeating patterns from the past? Before you are able to create anything new, which is that sun and moon energy in the Taurus. So it's really like, before we seed this next step of our future, responding to the Venus creative principle in Aries, what are you willing to do to fight for what you want? So even though the conditions are not the way we would hope, they're not ideal, it's not a sunny day to be out in our rakish silk hat. It's raining, it's cold, it's miserable, but do it anyway. And we get this also added boost of courage from this Mars and Jupiter opposition that's here, because they're both giving us a hand. Now remember, these planets in Aries respond to Mars, which is in Gemini right now, in a direct opposition to Jupiter in Sagittarius. So what that means is that opposition there is kind of like think or act local, think global. So make sure that not only have you done the work of the past, but you also know what the consequences of your actions are going to be. What are you going to do today, and how does it affect the ecosystem around you? How does it affect your bigger plans? How does it affect your dreams, your philosophies, your beliefs? Are you acting in a way that's in line with your belief system? And it says go for it. So as long as you have all these things in line, then yeah, go for it. And that's what this extra boost of energy from the new moon is saying. Things may not be perfect, but you can still do it. You just have to have all of these pieces that Saturn and Pluto and the South Node are asking you, more demanding that you pay attention to in order to head towards your future. So let's see. Actually, I'm going to stop here and let's go see what the cards say. Okay, here we are. Let's do new moon cards for the new moon energy. May 4th, new moon in Taurus at 14 degrees, 11 minutes. May I have cards? Okay. Balance, interesting. Let's do this. I'm going to talk less now because I talked already a lot in the astro piece. So may I have the cards, or one card, the energy for the new moon in Taurus, May 4th, 2019 for Aries. That's a lot, but God, this keeps coming out. It's flipped though, so that's interesting. We have this piece in reverse and the yang energy in reverse. So yeah, this is kind of like the move into, this is aggressive Venus right here. Let's get the rest. May I have one card for the energy of the new moon, May 4th, 2019. One card for the energy of the new moon in Taurus for Aries. What's the energy for Aries at this Taurus new moon, May 4th, 2019? Okay. That looks pretty dynamic. You know, I have to look that one up because it's in Dutch. But interesting also this fireball feeling right there. You know, that like there's something explosive at the heart. This is upside down, so let me keep it that way. And then let's get 3 cards, please. 2 very important and wise figures. And that's what that Gemini and, or the Mars-Jupiter opposition is about. So yes, balance, weighing your options. Do I go back? Do I go forward? 2 more cards, please, for the new moon energy for Aries, March 4th, May 4th, 2019. Also to all you Star Wars fans, May the 4th be with you. 2 more cards, please, for the energy of this new moon. Two more cards, please. New moon. Oopa. Exactly 2. Huh. All right. What's gotta go in order to move forward? Let me look this up. Be right back. Okay. So the mood here is obvious, right? You have this kind of grumpy card. You have this creative energy mixed with the masculine. So this is going to be your Venus in Aries. And this is also upside down. So it says, you know, careful. The peace card is in reverse. So there is a clear climate of unrest, right? And these 2 cards are are quite classic. Now, the other thing here is that this is a 2, this is a 7, and this is a 9. So there is a warning here because this card is about, careful consideration. And that comes out in all of these. This asks to carefully consider your moves. This says don't rush into anything, carefully consider. This talks about being prepared, about bringing your gifts. So there is a lot of reflection going on in order to be able to move forward. And in this 2 of Wands, what they say about this card, the original meaning was that the understanding that you can't have both. You can't hold on to the past and move towards the future at the same time. And that is kind of in this message also. It talks about balance and balancing going after what you want and doing things in the right way. So there is this consideration of, do I stay? Do I go? What does going forward look like? What do I want? And an analysis about how do I move forward? How do I dominate these 2? Can I bring them both under? Can I get both of these wands under my power? And it may be driving you to this place. And so the warning here in this energy, or in this new moon energy, is don't let this careful consideration drive you to insanity. There's no need for that. This card here talks about intuition and about trusting your intuition and about developing your intuition. And actually, I forgot to mention while I was looking at the charts about that Neptune in Pisces, which is actually offering a helping hand to this new moon. And I should have mentioned it, my bad. When everything gets to be a little bit too much, the aggression is too much, the environment is too much, you don't know what to do, you're getting stuck. The way out in this moon is to head towards your Neptune. So wherever your Neptune in Pisces is, in whatever house, is going to be your saving energy. It will be what brings you this peace. It's going to be what flips it over. Now, be careful because Neptune in Pisces can be drinking and drugs, and so we don't want to get too drowned in that energy. But if you use your creative, Neptune is the higher energy of Venus. So if you go into your higher creative spirit, taking pictures, going to movies, making movies, painting, listening to music, any creative pursuit that takes you out of the immediate moment and puts you sort of into this infinite space, this sort of, I want to say like psychedelic, non-concrete space, is what will help balance out this energy. Like I said, these 2 cards kind of have the same vibe. This one's really fiery and aggressive, and this one is more internal. So you want to head into your internal creative space when you feel like things are getting too much. That said, there needs to be a balance right now in terms of how you move forward. Okay, so you are being asked to be very careful and considerate about the moves you make, about the mistakes from the past, about the consequences of your future actions, about what you want, about what you're willing to pay to get what you want, how much it's worth for you. At the same time, that process can be extremely overwhelming, as we see here. And so when it gets to be too much, to move into this card here, just take a break and step out of what's going on the ground and get into your sort of higher self energy, where you merge with the divine. So definitely some meditation, prayer, like I said, all creative pursuits that take you out of the concrete and let you sort of get yourself lost in what it is that you're making. If cooking does that for you, then do that. Whatever your version of meditation is, and meditation doesn't have to be sitting there trying to clear your mind. Meditation can be cleaning the house, it can be ironing, it can be cooking, it can be walking down the street listening to music. So whatever it is that just helps you unplug from all this that's going on, that's gonna, there's this very clear story that's over here, and then there's this guy that's kind of the outlier. So this will be the energy that you want to run to over the next couple of weeks, until this starts to subside. It will, when Venus moves into Taurus, and the planets are out of Aries. We can even be too much for ourselves sometimes, that energy. So stick in your creative, sort of spiritual, timeless, where you lose sense of time and space and physicality. That's going to be your escape. Keep an eye on drinking and drug consumption. That will only exacerbate problems. You need to you're going to have to keep a clear head before, so you can avoid getting here. So don't be careful of behaviors that will take you out of being able to think rationally and think logically and think clearly, and also to be able to perceive your own emotional state. Any sort of substance tweaks your own emotional response. It can make you more emotional, it can make you less emotional, so you're not actually getting a good read on your own energy there. So you want to be in your most centered self. You want to be in that spot in order to be able to move forward. So neither looking back nor looking at what's horrible. You want to be head up, tall, shoulders back, forward, ready to move forward. And that's, that goes along with the Sabian, that even though the conditions are we're gonna have to be able to find the way to move forward. Or that's the ask. You actually don't have to take the request to move forward. You can say no. One of the analysis things is it worth it to me? That's that Venus Pluto and Venus Saturn. What are you willing to invest to make this thing happen, to create this newness? The answer may be nothing, and that's fine, but just make sure that whatever your decision is, it doesn't take you here, okay? Because this is dangerous, and there's only one step after this one, right? And it's not pretty. Okay, I think that's enough. Thanks for watching, and I will see you at the weekly.